Hello and welcome to my video. Okay, I'm not going to waffle too much, let's get on with this. And this is the cliff thing that I uploaded, painting that I uploaded on October the 3rd. First stage of the painting. It's quite dry actually, it's not too wet. I don't mind if it ruins the painting, frankly, because it's a demo, and that's what demos are for, just getting, just to show you. So I'm a little bit aware that looks a little bit like a iceberg. So not an iceberg, the end of a glacier. So I want to de-ice it a bit. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to add some sort of stains to the chalk. It's just too white. I'm also going to change the sky quite a lot. And I'm going to change this area down here. And I'm going to just sort of chuck this paint on quite quickly, because it is like a glaze. I mean, there's hardly any colour actually in it, but I just want to get some of that sort of colour in, because it sort of occurred to me that cliffs do have a few stains in them, even chalk. You do get, obviously you get white bits, but you do also get sort of, I guess it's iron staining, because there's quite a lot of iron, well there used to be, I suppose there still is, in chalk. So let's just see what happens. Let's have a little bit of another colour there. I'm basically, my main concern is de-icing it. It just looked too, well, I hate to say it again, but too icy. So let's just go for it, see what happens, and paint without fear. Just see what transpires. Whatever I'm putting on here can be taken off very easily, obviously. Just with a piece of paper. So if I go down a little bit too far, there, I can bring those little white twinkly bits back at the bottom of the cliff. The shadows as they go further away, I'm going to blue them up a bit, funny enough. But the shadows close to you are going to have this sort of yellowy, slight yellowy tinge, and I think I'll put a little bit in that shadow. There's hardly anything coming off the brush. I mean, you can see it on the brush, but it's not a lot of paint. Now, I did take a little sneaky look at some photos, and it seems to be, I don't usually do that by the way, it seems to be that most of the yellowy tinge tends to hang around the top of the cliff. It does go down the bottom, but it sort of hangs over the edge, and I guess it's stained from the iron in the soil, because there is obviously a soil there at the top of the cliffs. And now I'm going to get some Payne's grey, and I think I'm going to put in a few dingy bits. Here, I think it'll give it a little bit more depth. Yeah, well personally I think that's the way to go. And something to remember, when you're painting a picture, don't paint it to please other people. Obviously, I paint landscapes, and that's what people want me to paint generally. So that's what I do. So I don't mean to be, what am I trying to say? I'm not a people pleaser. It just happens that I like landscapes as well. So that's what I'll paint. Okay, so there's a few dark bits, and I think it gives it a little bit more structure. You don't have to go over the top with this. It's just one of these things where you literally just touch it on the painting, and it'll sort of do the work for you. A nice darker bit there, I think, just on the edge. And I've got those bits, quite nice textures coming out of that. There we go. Now, I'm going to use the same brush. Let's give it a bit of a wipe. Well, actually, that's an understatement. I'm going to give it a big wipe, because I don't want any of the grey on there now. So I'm getting all of the mobile grey off. There'll be some staining left on the brush, but it won't be enough to actually impact the painting. So here I'm going to put some sort of bluey shadowing, just a tiny amount of blue. The other thing I'm going to do when I get to the sky is I'm going to change the sky a bit because I think it's just too dark. There's going to be a few light spots in there, a bit of pale blue, but not much. I don't like to do that much. Now I want a bit more shadow in here, and it's like general shadow, just to knock it back from about this point. So we've got shadows in there that are dark blue and Payne's grey, and then over here I'm putting in more blue so that it's simplified with just a bit of white showing through. And that should knock that right back so that it's further away from us. That's my plan. Yeah, I think that works, and I think I might start it about here actually. So this is just a bit of royal blue with a lot of oil in it, and I think we'll have it. There. And sort of put some funny angles in it as well. That'd be quite nice, I think. Anyway, I don't know whether you agree with me. If you don't, I mean, that's what the comment box is for. But personally, I think that looks more cliffy and chalky. It was, as I said, way too icy. Same brush, because I've got it on the go. And I like to limit the amount of brushes I use. Unless I'm using something like, you know, red and white, big time on a painting, then I'll obviously use a completely different brush. Otherwise I'll have red, pink and white. And don't want that. So back to the royal blue, which is it's one of the colours that I describe as being delicious. But it is actually quite, it looks edible to me. I don't know why I think that. It's just a lovely colour. There's a couple of goofs in the sky. The other day I was sort of testing the paint, and I put a couple of my fingerprints there, so we'll be getting rid of them. Let's just smear that on there and see what that does. Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, I've just made a hole in reality. Do something with that in a minute. But I'm going to do something with that now because I think it's too much. Just knock it down. And I won't take it right off, but just to there, I think. Sort of interesting. Okay, so where do I want my light bit of sky? Good question. I think I'm going to put it here. Or am I? Or am I going to put that? No, I'm going to put it here. And this is going to be a gap in the clouds, obviously, because that's the blue bit. That's the blue bit of sky in the background. And all this dark stuff is darker clouds closer to us. Well, they would, wouldn't they? I do have this gift for stating the obvious sometimes, to the point where it's almost embarrassing. Anyway, so there's a nice sort of blue shape. So this will just open it up a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit more work on the white clouds as well. And I think over here I want something, definitely want something lighter across here. It's just a little bit too, I mean, I like foreboding, but I'm not trying to paint the apocalypse. It's hard enough to say it without painting it. Okay, so you notice I'm using very horizontal movements here. That's deliberate, because, well, I hate to say it, but if I wasn't painting horizontal shapes, I'd be painting vertical shapes. Okay, so anyway, enough of that. Let's move on here. I'm going to take the light sky right down to the cliffs. and then I'll work on it in a minute. So let's have that, which I hope will send those cliffs further away. A little bit of light on the horizon, like so. There we are. It's getting exciting, isn't it? When were you last this excited? I don't remember when I was. It's been so long. Now, question is, what am I going to add to the sky? Am I going to add red? Am I going to be experimental and slightly silly? Or will I go for safe? I think a little bit of both, I think. So along here, as you can see how quickly you can do this. You know, once the painting is dry, I'm thinking, by the way, I'm thinking of changing the name of my channel to the I Will Repeat Stuff Until You're Blue in the Face channel. But I mean, that's what teaching's all about, with painting anyway. You have to repeat. If you don't repeat, people will forget. So, what shall I repeat? Typical, can't think of anything to repeat now. Okay, so that I think adds more depth to the sky. I'm going to put a little touch of blue on the sea, just a hint. There's some interesting conversation I had in the last video, and also with my, I think it was with one of my Zoom classes about reflections in the sea. You tend not to get them much. Because the sea's so choppy, it doesn't reflect things like cliffs. If that was completely calm, you know, totally no wind at all, you'd get a reflection, but it isn't. It's slightly choppy, so you won't get much. So I'm just going to put a few light bits of sea along there, and then a few in the water. A few shapes in this sea to give us a slightly more wavy look. Oh yeah, someone asked me on YouTube. They said, "What about rivers? You know, you get reflections in rivers." Well, if you get a really rough river, fast flowing, you're not going to get any reflections because it's broken up too much. If you've got a totally almost not moving river, you know, it's almost completely at a standstill, then, you know, you get a reflection. It depends on lots of factors, you know, where the sun is, where the light is coming from, all that sort of stuff anyway. Right, so yeah, it tends to be a bit rare. Now over this side here, I'm just going to trail this. I need to sort of take a look from a distance. Yep, I thought so. It's going downhill a bit there, so I'm just going to make that go up a bit. But still keep it vague. That's sort of okay. It'll do for this. Now, the other thing I wanted to do very quickly is sort out this mess here. This is just too messy. I think I failed abysmally there. There's a little thing that will help you painting. When you make a mistake, admit it. And although I have to say this video, part one of this, has been received very well, and it's got quite a lot of views. This one probably won't, I don't know, it might, you never know. Part twos sometimes don't get a lot of viewers, I think, because by the time they got to that, they've seen part one and they're sick to the eye teeth of it. So, anyway, never mind. It's there if you want, if people want to see it. I'm just going to remove a hair. There we go. There. So let's, yeah, if you make a mistake, just come out and say it. There's no point. If it looks wrong, You know, if I do something and it looks wrong, I'll do my best to show you how to make it look right. That's what I'm after. That's what I'm trying to say anyway. There's a mark from a hair there. I don't know whether it's a hair or whether it's where a hair used to be. No, it's an actual hair. Might cut this bit out. There we go. Gotcha. So we just put a little bit of paint over that. There'll be a mark there still, but not from that distance. Okay, so same brush. I'm going to give it a wipe, and then I'm going to work on the sky. Just chuck in a few white clouds. See how that looks. Actually, no, I won't use the same brush because it's extremely blue. What I will do, though, is I'll adjust the camera. You can actually see the top, but I think it's better if I bring the top down just a touch, like so. Yeah, I think definitely, I definitely prefer the cliffs now. It just seems more structured. Okay, so let's get some sky work going. And let's find a brush. Which one should we use? I went to the bricolage in French is French for like do-it-yourself shop, so you know, decorating hardware store, and I bought a pile of these brushes, and it's just nice being able to grab a brush without having to search around my room for the next hour or so. Okay, so this is just titanium white, straight out the tube. Haven't added any oil to this at all. And all I'm going to do, now I could do this with a palette knife, but I'm going to do it with a brush this time because why not? Okay, so let's just get some bits of cloud doing interesting stuff. Hope so, anyway. Let's have a look in the camera. What's that looking like? Good. So here I'm going to use a smaller brush to get into this bit, because that's a little bit tricky there, but that'll be in a moment or two, but I can go close to it. I could probably use, in fact, let's try it with this brush. What I want to do is add some white. So as you can see, I'm working down to the edge of the cliff, like so. And I think that might work quite well. Now I've established the line below the brush and made it the way I want it, I can then work up. Let's just have a nice slug of white cloud just there, sticking up behind the cliff. There we go. Yep. And then tail it away a little bit. It can disappear up against that. To be precise, up against this, working that way. So random cloud shape, how on earth do you do that? Well, what can I say? You make random movements. Don't do anything predictable. Close your eyes every now and then, just let your arm continue brushing, and your brain won't interfere. Interfere or intervene. Try and keep it so that nothing is too planned. If you see what I mean, I hope that makes sense. You see, if I stare at this and get obsessed with these clouds, I'll start moulding them. And I don't want to mould them because I want them to look like they are in control and not me. So I'm relinquishing control of the clouds to the clouds, or to the paint really. Let the paint do what it wants to do. There we are. There's not much white left on this brush, and I'm picking up some of the blue, which is okay. That gives me another layer of depth. So you've got very white, not so white, and blue. And it does actually work quite well. So, what should we do now? Let's, I think we should just have a little bit of well, I call them, I have different names, twinklies or hotspots. Now, a twinkly, these are twinklies. Along the base of the cliff there's some dots which are supposed to emulate fallen bits of chalk. And hotspots, that's a hotspot. This is a hotspot. Anything that's really bright and hitting your retina is a hotspot. And you want a certain amount, obviously, because otherwise the painting will just look flat. And we don't want flat paintings. Okay. Once I've got these clouds roughly shaped, I will smooth it a bit with a smoothing brush. I have two on the go at the moment. One that I used the other day, which may not be smooth enough now. In fact, it's decidedly crisp. I've got another one here. This may be okay. This one probably will be. It's got stains on it, but it's not a lot of paint. Okay, so I'm picking up a little bit more white, and let me just have a look in the camera, because that's how I see my picture from a distance. Because it's a small image, it looks like it's a long way away. And I think we need something along here, a few of them. Whatever they are, there's some of them. Okay, so these, I don't know whether you remember, when I started, there were some marks there that I made with my finger, so I'll just sort of make them into something with a bit more substance. So they're not particularly interesting anymore. Well, actually, maybe it's more interesting. Okay, so I want a little bit there. Just brings that over the top of your head a little bit more. And I've got these shapes here, which I've just put on. And I'm just going to sort of break it down. It's one of those, you know, those sort of slightly windy days where the clouds are very fragmented and filled with a certain amount of doom. Got to have a bit of doom. Right, what should we do now? Okay, so the other thing I was going to do is put a bit of red in it. Now, or am I? Let's ask myself that question. Am I going to put some red in the sky? I think I won't. I think what I'm going to do is just leave that. If I am going to add red, I'm going to wait until everything's dry and then just chuck a bit in as a glaze. So anyway, before I get down to the beach, which I think really needs sorting out, I'm not happy with that. I mean, it's sort of effective. It's just too bitty. I don't want it so bitty. So the clouds, so a little bit of smoothing. Not too much, because I quite like the look it's got now, but I will do a bit. For several reasons. One, I think people like to see it because it's actually quite nice. And also, people seem to struggle with it, you know, hardly touching the painting is quite tricky. Because one, you know, if you get the pressure too much on it, too high, it will ruin the effect. So just sort of holding off. It's just, you know, a glancing blow. And you can imagine how long that sky would take if I was using a little tiny blending brush, which I did have lying around here somewhere that I used to show people, just to show them the scale of the average blending brush. But can I find it? I've probably thrown it away anyway. It was actually a watercolour brush, and I just don't use it, but I kept it here to show people when they come here for lessons. Anyway, I can't show you, but it's a small brush with a very soft head. It's called a mop. Some people call them mops, anyway. So there we are, there's the sky, without a mop touching it. And you must must admit, it's an effective way to produce a sky quickly. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay. Right, so I'm going to move the camera and we'll get onto the beach. I fancy a bit of time on the beach. So there we are. I'm going to get the beach away from the bottom so you can see it clearly. Okay, so it's nice, interesting effects going on there, but I want to simplify it. So how am I going to do that? The first thing I'm going to do is I've got a bit of white, I beg your pardon, I've got a bit of blue on this, but it won't matter because most of what I'm going to put on it will be white, I think. I'm sort of making it up as I go along. So, and I hope, actually by saying that, I hope that gives you the feeling that, you know, you don't have to be all rigid when you're doing this stuff. You know, play around with it, have fun, just see what happens, because, you know, as sure as heck something will happen. It'll either go right or it'll go wrong, but if it goes wrong, does it matter? It means that the next time you paint, maybe it'll go more right. Okay, so what I'm doing here, as you can see, is I'm simplifying. I'm going to bring that right across there so that it's like, you know, that effect you get when it's so calm that there's no breakers, but just foam or whatever it is, I don't know. Let's bring that across there a little bit. Okay, so that's simplified. Oh yeah, that's much better. I like that. I'm not just saying that because it's me, I just like it. And I'm going to bring the sea up there. Ah yes, that's working. You know, there comes a point when you're painting a picture when you feel that you've gone past not really a barrier, but I suppose it's a little bit like when you're running. If you're running in a marathon, there's this thing called hitting the wall, which I have experienced. I used to run a lot when I was younger. And you know, after I don't know, I can't remember where I used to hit my wall, but it was quite soon when I started running. I suppose after I don't know, half a mile maybe, can't remember. It's a long time ago. And yeah, it's the same with a painting. You get to the point where you think everything's going to go right now, because I've sort of hit that confidence level. Am I in the way? I might be, I'm sorry. At least I'm not wearing a cotton top with cat hair all over it today. It's just a dark shirt with cat hair all over it. Right, now, okay, I think that simplifies the beach. It also resolves something there. And when I say resolves, you see, you can blur. And I think that's sort of a good example of blurring an area so that it looks as though something is going on, but you can't precisely say what it is. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I think it's because it brings it, how do I explain it? Before, it had a tight little bend in it, and I think it was too tight. No, it wasn't. It was loose. It was a loose bend. Now I've tightened it. It makes it slightly ambiguous, so your brain will start to sort of shuffle around in there and try and figure out what's going on. The only other thing I think I might do, now I look at it, I think even though this place, which is near a place called the Berlin Gap, it's just from my memory of the place really. I mean, it's not exactly like this. It's just cliff. I mean, the reason it's like it is because there's cliffs, sky and sea. That's it, as far as it goes. But it's sort of like something like that. Now, The beach colour, I think I might cheat. It's not cheating, it's called, what do they call it? Artistic licence. So I'm an artist and I have a licence to do this. So I'm just going to get a brush with some yellow ochre on it. So in other words, I'm sort of inventing a beach, because the beach there won't be that colour. There's there's the odd bit of sand poking through, but it's slightly laughable really compared to a real beach. We do, as I said before, we do have beaches in the UK, but there aren't that many. One of the nicest beaches I saw was actually in Florida, and St. Augustine. I thought that was quite nice. Okay, so all I'm doing is just chucking on a little bit of beachy colour there. I know I'm in the way. Yeah, I think that's better. It was too blue before. And in fact, I'm going to pile it up against the bottom of the cliff there. There we go. Slightly more beached. I'm beaching something that looked too de-beached. Okay. Now that's much nicer. And a little bit down there, I think. Yeah, why not? Okay, so we've got a bit of beach. And I'm going to take it another step further. And I'm probably going to have to get a different brush. I think I will, because I've got a yellow brush now, and I actually don't want it to be too yellow. Maybe I can get away with just giving it a good wipe. I think it might work. So a little bit of white. It doesn't matter that it's yellowy white. And I just want to bring some of that up there. Okay. Up to there. Okay, I'm doing something here which might make some people happy. Got a hint of a reflection there, and a hint there. As it is such a calm sea, why not? So a little bit of, a little hint of reflection there. Probably okay. Okay, now then, what's next? I think that might be it. You know, this is going to be a quick one, or has been a quick one, and quite pleasing. That went nicely. What I do, you see, before I paint, as I can't play music during the actual painting, for copyright reasons, and also you wouldn't hear me talking much if I did do that, and some people want to hear me talk. But I was listening to a bit of rousing music before I started painting. It always has a good effect on me. And before I started this, I was listening to Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé singing Barcelona, and that got me going a bit. Followed by, what else did I listen to this morning? Oh yeah, the Flower Duet. That's very nice and soothing, and it's just, I don't know, certain bits of music just have an inspiring effect on me. As long as it's anything but rap. wrap will actually make me insane. I can't bear it. Never liked it. But anyway, it's just my personal view. So yeah, it'd be nice if I could listen to a bit of music, but I couldn't even put headphones on playing it because I would get distracted. Right. Just bring that across there. There we are. Hopefully this will all dry nicely. I'm sort of painting slightly wet on sticky. Now wet on wet's okay, wet on sticky may not be a good idea, but as I said, my main purpose is to make a video and not necessarily a bit of a painting that will last forever. It may be okay. I mean, it tends to work okay, you know, that you don't get too many cracks. But if I do get cracks in the paint, then what I'll do is exaggerate them a bit and give it a slightly antique-y look. Right, that bothers me. And then I'm done. I'm going to lift it slightly that way. I don't know what it is. Could be a little pool of water there. Something that wasn't quite right. That's, I suppose, okay. Right, there we go. All done. And one thing though, and that is, you see, you've got the cliffs which attract the eye, you've got the general clouds that catch the eye, but usually about here, because of that spot in a painting, which is above centre to the right, that's where you want a little bit of interest. So I might just put a little cloud there, very quick, like so. There we go. And just smooth it slightly. There we are. I think I'm done. I'm done. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to come to my Zoom classes, usual rubbish, not the class, what I'm saying, the usual stuff. I do 2 Zoom classes a month, always on a Saturday, always at 4 p.m. French time, which is GMT +1. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll find links to those, and if you do want to come, it'll work out, you know, the link will work out your currency and time zone. It'll tell you exactly when the class is happening, and it'd be nice if you could come because it's fun. I get an hour to paint and then talk for as long as it takes to bore the pants off everyone, and there we are. You can ask questions. And it's always fun. There we go, there's the painting. Let me just check the focus for you. There we are. Right, so yeah, thanks for being here. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.